So why don't we get started with even more game announcements that happened this week? This has been the past 2 weeks now. We've had nothing but game announcements. We have streams. We have all the stuff from. Wasn't Gamescom 2 weeks ago, or was that a month ago?
2 weeks ago, if I
My
remember
God,
correctly.
wow! And then we had a bunch of streams last week, and this week was Tokyo Game Show. And there were some interesting announcements, and it sounds like you have a bunch that you want to talk about. So I want to give you the floor and talk about what were the things that were interesting that was announced at Tokyo Game Show. Go right ahead.
Capcom had a real short presentation, but it was one hell of a whopper of an info drop. So Monster Hunter Rise's Sunbreak is getting another update. More costume pieces, but the big one is that there will be 3 new monsters added to the rosters. So for anyone who is on the end game grind for Sunbreak, there's going to be even more stuff for you to do. And Capcom ended up teasing that the next major update is going to be in November. So if you get caught up with all your grinding, then I'm sure by November there's probably going to be more stuff for you to grind on. So there's that. Another big one is that they talked a little bit more about the Resident Evil Village DLC and the fact that story-wise, it's going to end the Winter's Family story arc. So if anyone was kind of attached to the Winter's Family, then just know that there will be no more further stories involving the Winter's Family after this expansion drops.
Okay.
So, and then the one that was really, really big out of the Capcom Tokyo Game Show presentation was Street Fighter 6 and the reveal on how the whole World Tour mode is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you as the player will be creating your own character. And what makes it interesting is your custom created character. You can dress him however you want. You can make him look however you want. But what makes it interesting is you will have to pick somebody in the Street Fighter universe to be your instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And they were showing that Dalsim could be your instructor. You could have Ryu being your instructor. You can have Luke being your instructor. You could have Chun-Li, and just the gambit just completely runs wild. And you'll basically use your skills to get through some of the areas in World Tour. And on top of that, they showed that your custom character may bump into random people on the street, and they might want to throw hands with you, and then you got to use your techniques and skills that you've learned from your instructor to get through these fights. And I know a lot of people got real excited about the possibilities and everything, especially when they show some of the training scenes where you end up training in Kung Fu with Chun-Li, and you saw in this trailer you saw like a male character practicing Kung Fu technique with Chun and everything, and so on and so forth. So a lot of hype behind that. And then after that, the one thing that they did show was how the multiplayer lobbies works, and this disappointed me a bit.
Okay.
Because instead of a just quick functional menu to just get you in and out of the fights as fast as possible, they have taken the 3D lobby approach that all the Arc System games have taken, where you basically wander around a virtual arcade, sit down at a virtual arcade cabinet, and you basically just square off against whoever you sit down with and everything.
It's like it's like how Dragon Ball Fighters is, right? Where everyone's
it's exactly how Dragon Ball Fighters and also the new Guilty Gear and everything. So a little disappointed to see that they're going with that, because it's just so kludgy and just not really efficient if you're just trying to get fights one and done as quick as possible so you can fight as long as you want. But that's my personal opinion on it. So essentially that was the Capcom presentation in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah, Capcom has some interesting games coming out. Street Fighter 6 even with which is a great sign, even with all the leaks and everything that happened with Street Fighter 6, people are still very excited by for that game. So It's looking, and I am too. It looks great. So I can't wait for it to come out, and that might be one of my day one purchases. I don't do that as much anymore as I used to, but that might be one I will spring the $60 to get. Oh, I hope it's just 60. But yeah, I'll spring the money to get it. So that sounds good.
Yeah. Also, and I almost forgot to mention this one. In the Capcom presentation, they did do a story trailer for Exoprimal, and I completely forgot, mostly because I don't have much interest in Exoprimal now that it's being billed as a PvPvE game. So, completely almost forgot that was announced. The next big presentation that happened was the RGG Summit held by Sega to talk about the Like a Dragon stuff. And it is official. Sega is going away from the Yakuza branding and rebranding the series in the West as Like a Dragon, because that's literally what the Japanese title translates to. But what was really, really significant about this is the fact that one of the announcements was something that was announced the day before in the PlayStation presentation, which was that Like a Dragon Ishin is being completely remastered from the ground up in the new Dragon engine, and it's coming to PS4 and PS5. And so they had another trailer sort of showing off the premise and the story of Ishin. So if anyone was looking for more info on Ishin, I would highly advise you to go to the Sega of America channel and bring up the Assault trailer for Ishin, which dives a little bit deeper into the story. But there were two big announcements that followed after the Ishin Assault trailer, which was one of them was Like a Dragon 8 was shown off, and apparently Kiryu's back as one of the main focal characters. In what capacity that is back is to be determined, but that kind of gets into one of the other things that was announced too, which was a Like a Dragon side story called The Man Without a Name, and it features Kiryu, but Kiryu is now working for another Yakuza group that masquerades as a Buddhist temple. And apparently his name is no longer Kiryu, it's now Joryu. So they didn't really expand on much. It was just kind of a teaser that sort of sets up the premise and everything. And Sega has come out and said that this Like a Dragon side story game is probably going to be anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours. So it's going to be real short and sweet. So if you're not looking for a full-blown Yakuza experience, then this might be kind of an interesting sort of thing. No release date announced really for Like a Dragon 8 and Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Without a Name. So I guess Sega will announce the release dates on when they feel comfortable to confirm a release date.
Okay. Now it's Like a Dragon. I mean, I guess Yakuza was only for the States. The name. Yeah,
for North America and Europe, essentially.
Okay. I have questions as to whether that will hurt sales for the States, at least, if it's not called Yakuza anymore. But other than that, I mean, that's certainly exciting. I've not been able to get into the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series. I tried Zero and liked what I played, but I never finished it. But it's also one of those things that there's so many. There's just so many of them now that it's kind of daunting to start from zero and go up to get acquainted with everything. So there's that. But the spinoffs sound interesting and everything. So yeah, it'll be. And this is a series that is climbing in sales at every iteration too. So makes sense.
One interesting announcement that was just real sudden and just came out of the blue was Konami is making a remaster bundle of Suikoden 1 and 2. And this was a very welcome surprise, especially considering I believe it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, Konami had renewed the trademark for Suikoden, and most people, me included, I just kind of dismissed it as, oh well, it's probably just going to be some terrible chintzy mobile game on that'll rely on a gotcha mechanic that you'll have to pull tickets to summon your favorite characters and everything, and it's probably just going to be an awful game.
Yeah.
But when this trailer showed up just out of nowhere, it floored me because everyone who grew up on the original PS1 has always mentioned that Suikoden 1 and 2 were just absolutely beloved games. So to have a more accessible way to play this game is just an absolute treat to see.
Right. They put 1 and 2 on PS3 through the PS1 classics. I'm sure they did too. Am I wrong on that? I am more than certain they did too, because that was a big deal when it happened. Because 2 is such a rare game that if you want to play it, you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get the disc. So them putting this out has got people excited, thinking that maybe they'll make another Suikoden game, or Konami's back in the business of making games too. They also announced, or they also, I guess, revealed that they are doing revival of other franchises from Konami, like the Maze of Gallius, Star Soldier Paradis, Twinbee, and Puyon. I've never heard of Puyon. Do you know Puyon?
Yeah, have not heard of that one, but I'm sure I may have played it in the past or something because played a lot of the obscure stuff from Konami back when I was much younger. So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing that Konami is looking to revive some of their older label stuff. Parodius is a little bit heartwarming for me to see because I remember playing a lot of Parodius as a kid on the arcade cabinets in my area and everything. So a Parodius revival would be great to see, just because of the absolute silliness of the whole thing.
Yeah. And if these do well, this could mean that Metal Gear might come back. So, we'll see at least. But it looks like Konami is getting back into the video game industry, it might seem, to an extent, maybe. So,
well, they have been saying that their video game revenue has been going up ever since COVID sort of kicked off. So there has been a much more united front on Konami to say, hey, video games are keeping us alive, so maybe we should do a little bit more in this video game thing. For context, if you do not know, for any listeners out there, Konami's biggest moneymakers before COVID were actually health clubs and karaoke clubs. And you can imagine what happened when COVID hit Japan. No one was going to the health clubs. No one was going to the karaoke clubs. So for video games to ironically be the thing that saves them was a little bit of a funny turnaround, because I remember one of the quarterly reports that they had put out in English and everything, they had pretty much mentioned, yeah, so due to the COVID downturn, we're not making much money in our big money makers like health clubs and karaoke clubs, but video games have been doing us good, so we're probably going to try to focus a little bit on the video games.
Yeah.
Xbox had a really big presentation, which actually kind of surprised me, because for a number of years, Xbox has sort of skipped doing anything big and splashy at Tokyo Game Show, but they had a full-blown video presentation this time around, and they're really going all in on the anime games, because the day the presentation aired, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony immediately dropped on Game Pass, both for Xbox and PC, which I was just like, wow, that's one hell of a way to kick off the presentation, just to say, hey, we haven't forgotten Japan, so here's a beloved visual novel that has graced most platforms that Japanese gamers are familiar with, but also, by the way, it's coming to Xbox.
Nice.
Ni no Kuni, the first one, that one also got dropped onto Xbox Game Pass as well, for Xbox consoles and PC. So that was great to see, because a lot of people were sort of wondering, the remasters coming out to PC and PS4, is Xbox getting anything? Because Namco Bandai's been doing a lot of Xbox stuff, so what's the deal? And then just that one also was announced during the presentation and immediately got shadow dropped into the Xbox Game Pass program. So it is immediately available to play, and they did confirm that the sequel game will be coming out to Xbox next year. And then there was a reminder about the Persona stuff that Persona 5 is coming soon. Same for Persona 4 Golden and Persona 4 or Persona 3 Portable. So kind of a nice reminder for anyone who had forgotten. But these next two are real heartwarming to see. Mostly because I'm a fighting game fan and everything. Guilty Gear Strive and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, both games are coming to Xbox Game Pass. And it will be sometime next year. But yeah, just absolutely floored me because I love both games. I like Cross Tag Battle a little bit more, but that's my personal preference. But yeah, just to see both of them coming out to Game Pass and Xbox just in general is great to see. I believe both games do have rollback code for PS4 and PS5. I do wonder if there will be cross-lobby support for both games, because I think that would just be absolutely heartwarming to see both games get cross-lobby support, so you can play with your friends on PlayStation or PC and just all around have a great time.
Yeah, I hope Cross Tag Battle comes with all the DLC, because the first two seasons brought on a lot of different fighters. So, and when it came out, when Cross Tag Battle came out, it didn't really have a lot. I think it had about 18 to 20 at the time. And it's a 2v2 fighter, so that's okay for a roster. But the other characters they added did a lot of good things for the game. So I hope they include the DLC into that release.
Yeah, I can confirm from the Xbox PR post that they have about the presentation that the version that will be coming to Xbox Game Pass will be the special edition, which is essentially just a all DLC included package.
Nice. Very good.
So, yeah, that will be coming to Game Pass, so no worrying about, oh, well, yeah, we're bringing it to Game Pass, but you're only getting the base game.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, the last big announcement, which was also kind of great to see, it was Deathloop is making its way to Xbox, and it actually came out to Game Pass today. So, that was one that a lot of folks were sort of waiting on because, of course, Deathloop had been PlayStation exclusive for PS5 for the longest while. And then on top of that, you had the fact that there's the purchase of the Bethesda Softworks being merged into Microsoft. So a lot of folks were wondering when the exclusivity period for Deathloop would be over. But yeah, just this was announced towards the tail end of the presentation that Deathloop would be coming out September 20th, which is today as we're recording this. And on top of that, they are adding a Golden Loop update, which also dropped today, that adds a photo mode. You get some additional accessibility options, crossplay matchmaking, which is huge. So you can now cross-match with PC players and PlayStation players. And then there are a whole bunch of quality of life fixes too. And then you have some new guns, some new abilities that were added to the game, some new enemy types, an additional ending that was added, and all that. So if you haven't had a chance to play Deathloop and you're on Xbox, then yeah, just great time to check it out, especially with this new Golden Loop update. The Golden Loop update is also hitting PlayStation and Steam, so if you've already bought the game on another platform, then you don't have to worry about missing out on this update. So kind of a nice thing to see. But yeah, just great to see that Deathloop is finally making its way to Xbox as of today, and Xbox gamers will be able to experience that. Sort of a minor announcement on the end of the Xbox Tokyo Game Show presentation is Playground Games, in conjunction with Xbox Studios, is celebrating Forza Horizon's 10th anniversary. And it was just kind of a real quick video montage of just going through all the games and everything. But it's a bit interesting since they had the hero car from the first Forza Horizon game, which was a Dodge Viper, sort of racing through all the locales from California to France to Italy, Australia, Britain, and Mexico, just zipping through everything. And kind of an interesting show of things. And then they tease that there will be a celebration in Forza Horizon 5 when the Forza Horizon 10th anniversary celebration happens. As far as the details on this celebration, not really much info to go off of, so we will have to wait until Turn 10 has a little bit more substantial info to drop on this. Another interesting announcement from the Tokyo Game Show was Star Wars Eclipse, which is the Quantic Dream production Star Wars game, was revealed with a trailer, and Quantic Dream has been saying that this will merge both an action-adventure game, but also with some of the fundamental stuff that you come to expect from a Quantic Dream game. So the usual sort of quick-time event sort of madness in a Quantic Dream game, the fact that all of your choices can lead to an ending, be it bad or good. So kind of interesting. If you're into the Quantic Dream games, though this one is going to be set in the Star Wars universe, so if you're a big Star Wars fan, might be kind of exciting. Though, if you're not much of a Quantic Dream fan, then this might not be too exciting for you. It's kind of hard to say. I'm a little bit kind of on the lukewarm side when it comes to the Quantic Dream games. I'm not really too into them, but I'm not someone who will completely outright dismiss the Quantic Dream games.
Okay. Is there anything more to talk about with Tokyo Game Show?
I think that's really it for just the major announcements, because a lot of the announcements had some crossover with both the Nintendo Direct and also the PlayStation presentation that happened the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, just a lot of that stuff got retreaded for the Japanese audiences. But yeah, as far as Tokyo Game Show stuff, I think that about covers it.
That's good. Okay. Some interesting announcements. Again, like you said, is a retread of previous announcements, but more in depth to a certain extent, except for the Like a Dragon announcements and everything. So, yeah, it was solid, but it looks as if the sales for Tokyo Game Show itself went down this year, especially compared to 2009, because according to VGC, it looks like they only made half the amount of, I guess, ticket sales or an attendance that they did in 2009. So, but that's also, isn't this also the first one that they've had since the pandemic? So
yeah,
that might be why. So it might not be that big of a deal with that end. But yeah, some decent announcements, it sounds like. So that's good. So why don't we go ahead, unless do you have more to add?
I will say, kind of for closing notes and everything, definitely check out Koei Tecmo's channel as well too, especially since they had a 25-minute playthrough of Wulong Fallen Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who is really into the Soul style game, then yeah, you might really be interested to see how the game plays. I believe also the Koei Tecmo channel also has some Italia Ryza 3 gameplay. So if you're into Italia Ryza, definitely go there and check it out.
Nice.
Other than that, I think that's really the only thing I feel should be a special mention.
Yeah, Wulong is coming out in January, correct?
Yeah, well,
So
Long comes out in January, I believe.
good. Well, so that's good that they're showing more of that then, and that's something that looks really good. So I'll check that out as well. Okay, let us move